What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rehash the Slash. This is a new horror movie channel where we are going to be discussing horror films and horror film accessories.
Horror film likes.
I'm one of your hosts, Nate, and I'm joined with
Paige.
And we are very excited to be here. We've already shot this episode one time already, but due to technical difficulties, we've had to reshoot this again. So here we are. Today we're going to be getting to know our horror interests with the audience, you guys. Hopefully some of you guys are from Out of the Basement. Hey, hello. You can tell the set is different because there's, we got Ash and Freddy there. So we're doing horror movie icebreakers. We've got 10 questions. We're going to go back and forth and answer these questions so you guys can get to know us a little bit better about how much we like horror, and you can play along in the comments down below. I think It would be a lot of fun.
Yes. Interaction is definitely encouraged.
Yes. We want to have a good old conversation about horror movies. So let's just not waste any time. Paige, you want to start us with our very first question of the show?
Okay, so the first one that we're going to start off with, just to break the ice, is our favorite slasher villain. So I'll toss this one to you. It's me asking you, and then, of course, you'll ask me.
Yes.
Bounce back and forth. All right, so your favorite slasher villain.
My favorite slasher villain is, no surprises here, Jason Voorhees. Going with a classic, an oldie but a goodie, timeless. Friday the 13th, specifically Friday the 13th Part 7, was one of the very first horror movies I can recall ever watching. My cousin showed it to me when I was like 9 or 10. Mm-hmm. Scared the ever-living shit out of me. But From that moment on, I knew I was addicted, and I just needed horror movies in my life. So Jason is definitely my favorite slasher. What about you, Paige?
All right, toss it to me. Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's like kind of a tie between Jason Voorhees, and then also Norman Bates from Psycho. Mm-hmm. Jason's great. Two very different kind of horror genres within, horror itself. Jason definitely coming from like a slasher background. Norman I don't know exactly what you would call that kind of a genre between Psycho. I don't know, like psychological thriller.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
I still think Psycho is a horror movie.
Yeah, of course.
It's definitely more psychological, but I do think there are a lot of similarities between Norman and Jason.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, well, kind of like, Norman kills for mother.
Yeah.
But then we get the first Friday the 13th movie where, spoiler alert, you're 40 years late, where Pamela Voorhees is killing for Jason.
Right. Well, at least in the first one.
Yeah, they both have mommy issues.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Yeah, but I definitely, those two in the forefront for me are definitely favorite slasher villains.
Sweet. So the next question is favorite horror director. And I'll pass this one to you, Paige.
Okay, so kind of circling back to Norman Bates, that kind of a thing. Okay, Alfred Hitchcock. I'm just going to throw it out there. Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah, definitely, having him like come through with Psycho, putting that out there for people to kind of become afraid of something else that they didn't think that they, taking a shower.
Becoming afraid of taking a shower.
Right, right. Alfred Hitchcock, yeah. The Birds, Vertigo, those movies are great. Yeah, psychological thrillers, I definitely feel like he specializes in, mm-hmm. and that's something that I could watch those movies all day and not get sick of them ever.
You're definitely a fan of like older
yes.
horror, like Frankenstein and like stuff from the 60s. I feel like that's what, since we've known each other, that's kind of what I've gotten off of you, is you're definitely a fan of like a lot of older stuff.
Oh yeah. So. I mean, I appreciate the newer stuff because
newer,
but everywhere has like stuff in the past that has definitely inspired it. So yeah. I mean, yeah, I can definitely appreciate that. And yeah, Alfred, he just comes off as a very like creepy guy. So it's, I don't know, Alfred Hitchcock for me. And I'll toss it to you, your favorite horror director.
My favorite horror director, again, it's probably a pretty cliche answer, but John Carpenter is probably my favorite horror director. He directed, obviously most people know Halloween, The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and The Mouth of Madness. The list goes on and on. I feel like he hasn't there's only a few John Carpenter movies I haven't seen, and those are mostly his later works, like Ghost of Mars and The Ward, which I've heard are, not good anyway. But he just has so many timeless classics, so many personal favorite movies of mine under his belt that I adore everything he does for the most part. Even like his 90s stuff, like I said, Prince of Darkness and In the Mouth of Madness. Those are both great movies, but Halloween is an absolute classic.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Amazing movie. The Thing, one of my favorite movies. Most people that like horror, that's one of their favorites. Just a gruesome, grotesque movie that is just, it's excellent. And
right.
I love John Carpenter's work. So he is my favorite horror director.
Oh, yeah, and composing, absolutely.
Yeah, true. The dude also knows how to write a riff.
Oh, yeah. All right, toss it back to me. Franchise. That's what we're going into next. Franchise, whether it be a horror franchise, anything within there. So yeah, favorite horror franchise, tossing it back to you.
My favorite horror franchise, again, no surprise, it's Friday the 13th. I can watch those movies all day long. I know they're corny. I know they're silly. They're not even really scary. They're not really particularly gory either, just because most of them were heavily censored by the MPAA. But it was one of my first series of horror that I ever watched all the way through, and it just has a very special place in my heart. Specifically, some of my favorites are 6, 7, 9. I know that's a controversial one. Not a lot of people like 9, but I really enjoy it. So yeah, Friday the 13th is my favorite horror franchise. What about you, Paige?
Mine would definitely be, they're definitely newer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, there isn't really a franchise. Like, I definitely, like you said, like, I appreciate like Frankenstein, those kinds of like classics. But I think we definitely came into a newer era where, like, for me, it's The Conjuring and like that kind of universe, like with Annabelle. Haven't seen, The Nun comes out next week, so
it's not out yet.
Definitely see that. See if that is something that I can add to that this like whole franchise that they've created with these movies, and hopefully I can add that to it, like I said. But yeah, that kind of a thing with like possession, like a demon kind of harboring inside of like something like that, like Annabelle, and then you go into like The Conjuring with like investigations like that are, I don't know, some instances people believe that it's real. You have definitely the skeptics.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like for me, those are movies that I enjoy watching because I'm still terrified of them.
Oh, yeah.
I can watch those. You can put it on at any time, and I will sit there in fear, like the absolute whole time. Like.
Yeah, we recently revisited Annabelle Creation, and we watched it with a group of friends, and that's probably the quietest we've ever been as a group of friends watching a movie, just because it's still so effective. It's still so scary, and I know a lot of people shit on the Conjuring movies, and I don't really know why. I feel like maybe it's just because they're popular and a lot of people just generally enjoy those movies, but I genuinely do think James Wan, he didn't direct all of them, but he did direct Conjuring 1 and 2. James Wan knows what he's doing. He's definitely he's up there with one of my favorite horror directors. Stuff like Dead Silence, Saw.
Oh yeah, well yeah, Saw. Yeah, I was gonna add that into it because I have a lot of like ties that I feel like with this. Yeah, Saw, like those kinds of movies as well. Kind of messed up to think that anyone could think up that kind of stuff and put it in a movie.
Yeah. So our next question is favorite holiday horror film, and we both share this answer.
Yes.
Because it's a great movie.
Yes.
It's about to get a Scream Factory release, which I'm very excited about, and that is
Trick or Treat.
Yes, Trick or Treat, not
Trick or Treat,
not Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat, the 2009 film. Great anthology movie. Well, it's kind of an anthology. It's kind of not. I'm sure most of you guys have seen this movie, but it's just a really great Halloween movie to watch that's not Halloween.
Right. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's not too scary, but it perfectly captures the spirit of Halloween, and you kind of get a little bit of everything. You know, there's some monsters, there's some ghouls, there's a lot there. Right. It's not just like one thing.
Right. Yeah, it's, I don't know, Anna Paquin. Yeah. She's in it. She's definitely one of the bigger names that's in it. Like, I honestly think that's one of the only names in that movie that I remember.
The kid from Bad Santa is in that movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, my gosh, I forgot about... Yeah, he's in that, too. Yeah, I like Sam in the movie. Yes. I feel like they definitely...
Adorable.
Oh, yeah. Until, one of the scenes where, they uncover what he actually looks like. Yeah. But... yeah, I don't know. I feel like in that way it's kind of cute because you have him and you're kind of, I don't know. I feel like movies like that have a character that's cute, it just does it. Like, a lot of people can get behind that, especially in like a horror movie where you have like a cute little, I don't know. For me, it's, I like it a lot.
But he'll kill you. If you blow those pumpkins out early, you're as good as dead.
Oh, yeah, definitely make sure you don't do that.
Can't break the rules of Halloween. So what is our next question?
All right. So the next one is, which horror movie would you be in out of anything that you've seen or not seen?
Yes.
What would you be in?
And this sort of is like a real life scenario, not like in a movie. So, no one would ever really want to be in a situation in a horror movie.
No.
But again, I'm going to go with Friday the 13th. Because as a guy, that typically means Jason's going to be, one and done with me. He's going to hit me in the face with an axe, and that's going to be the end of it. I don't want to be with Freddy where he's going to torment me. I don't want to be with Michael where he's going to stalk me.
Right.
I just want Jason to just squish my head and get it over with because I know I'm not getting away.
Right.
So I at least know I'll be guaranteed a quick death with Jason. What about you, Paige?
True. Definitely for me, it would be more of a survival where you kind of have to be like tactical, almost.
Sure. Like
Shining or like a Psycho, almost. I'm not a fan of Possession. I feel like for me that would be terrifying. I would honestly probably end up going like insane if that happened to me. But yeah, I feel like a movie like The Shining or Psycho, where you're faced with one person who's absolutely just lost their mind because of what they've been through, like whether it be cabin fever or mommy issues, they're just, for me, it's, you have to survive. Like, I don't know. In Psycho, she didn't know. She didn't know it was going to happen, but she kind of had a chip on her shoulder. Whereas I feel like Shining, she knew.
Somewhat.
Right. And she could definitely see. And, she was faced with, hey, like, I have to survive. Like, he's going to kill me. So I feel like something like that. Yeah, because, like, found footage or, I don't know, something like, I couldn't, no.
All right, so our next question is favorite final girl. Paige, who is your favorite final girl?
It's gonna be from part 2 of Friday the 13th for me. Ginny.
Good answer. Good choice.
Yeah. I don't know. These movies, I like them a lot just because you always have a final girl. I feel like that's kind of the theme. Obviously, everyone knows that. If you watch horror movies, is final girl is definitely an overall theme. Ginny, for me, it's Ginny. I don't know. I didn't really connect with any of the other final girls in any of the other Friday the 13ths. Ginny, for me, that was it.
Yeah, which is funny because Friday the 13th Part 2 you didn't really care for overall.
Right, but I like Ginny.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, she's a good final girl.
Right,
so,
right.
yeah, the child psychology and just the way that she was able to...
manipulate Jason overall. Just because she has that knowledge and she's like, okay, like, I'm going to give this a shot and hopefully it works.
Yeah.
And it ended up saving her for the most part.
True.
It makes me mad that they don't revisit her at all in these movies because I feel like that would have been a really good storyline if they came back, because obviously in the first one, you know, she ends up being killed at the beginning of the second
comes
one.
back for 2 seconds.
Right, and I'm just like, okay, Ginny lives and they don't even do anything with her, so but I don't know, I still appreciate her. I don't know. Who is it for you? Who's your favorite final girl?
My favorite final girl is also from Friday the 13th. This one is from Part 7, though, and that is Tina, or Carrie, as some people would like to refer to her as. She's really the only final girl that you ever see, you know, put up a fight, obviously, because she has psychic abilities.
Right.
Most people can't put up a fight against Jason at all, but it's nice to see someone sort of be able to take a piece out of Jason.
Yeah.
And she definitely messes him up throughout the movie. Oh,
yeah.
With, like, you know, she electrocutes him, she hangs him, throws him down some stairs, lights him on fire, all this cool stuff.
Yes.
And again, that's just a very nostalgic movie for me. And I think she, as an actress, she really sells her performance of being, like, crazy or not being crazy, knowing that she has something more going on, but everyone around her thinks that she's crazy, and she's just frustrated that no one believes her.
Right.
And that sort of manifests her powers. So, yeah, Tina.
Okay. Yeah, I think I can definitely see, I'm not positive on when Carrie came out, but I can definitely see, like, the nod almost to that kind of a thing.
Carrie was definitely beforehand. I think that movie came out in the 70s.
Okay, yeah.
I want to say.
Yeah. So I can definitely see where they're coming from with that. Like, okay, like, why not throw something like this into the mix, you know?
True.
All right. So the next one is, what horror scares you the most?
Okay, so what type of horror scares me the most? I would definitely say more like realistic horror situations. Not so much like, you know, a masked killer, because obviously, I mean, stuff like that can happen, but not particularly. But stuff like, you know, like Jaws, where it's like a shark in the water, or Paranormal Activity, where I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, but, you know, when I watched that movie and went home, it's like your house just becomes scary for no reason.
Right.
And you don't really know why, but you're just, like, thinking about it in the back of your head. Or stuff like the Belko experiment, where you're sort of put in a position where you have to kill other people.
Right.
Because I don't think I could ever murder someone.
Right.
Especially in a situation where it's like murder your coworkers.
Right.
I'm particularly fond of my coworkers, so I definitely wouldn't want to murder them.
Right.
But yeah, more like real life horror situations is what scares me the most in horror movies.
Okay.
What about you, Paige?
For me, this one's kind of hard. Like I said, I feel like possession is definitely kind of scary because you don't know, like, the person doesn't know. They don't necessarily understand what's happening to them. Like,
Right.
It's almost like an out-of-body experience. Like, you're not able to control yourself. And just watching them, like, absolutely terrifies me. Yeah, I'd say that, or the ones where, like, almost like a, oh my gosh, what is the name of it? I'm, like, having a complete brain, like, just absolute blank. What was it called? Oh my goodness. Where she's like, she gets a call from inside the house.
What, like when a stranger
calls?
calls?
Exactly. Something like that. Yeah, like that. Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, they're in the house and you're there and you have no idea. Like that survival almost. Yeah, like you said, what was it? Black Christmas?
Yeah, Black Christmas.
Where he's killing all these people and he's never found. Like,
you don't even get to see what he looks like.
No.
Well, the original, not the remake, not Jaundice Man remake. But
right.
Yeah, the original. The most you ever get, you see his eye.
Right.
And that's it. So that's absolutely terrifying. And then even after everything, all the police have been through the house and everything, and then the phone starts ringing again because he's still just like, I'm still fucking with whoever's left in the house. You're like, jeez, man, give it a rest.
Right. Or like recently, Hereditary.
Yeah.
I hope they do more movies like that make you think. Like, that make you think a little bit. And some of the shots that they did in that movie, like when they're like in the attic and those people are standing there, and I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine having something like that, like almost like your family's involved, like it's in your family, and you're like, there's someone meddling in your family and it's coming back on you. Like, no. I
think I think his name was Peter. I can't remember. It's been a minute since we've watched Hereditary, but when the most relatable moments when he just jumps out the window.
Right.
He's just like, nope.
Nope, see ya. Like, not having it.
Yeah, big nope. Okay, so next question is favorite decade of horror.
Okay, for me, it would be like the Night of the Living Dead era.
So like 60s
right.
horror, like Psycho.
Right.
So
definitely almost movies that don't have like a soundtrack.
Yeah.
Almost. Or movies like Psycho where the soundtrack is like all instrumental mostly. It's like very like
orchestral.
Right. Where they get the right pitch in there and it's just like almost enough to like set the tone. Like it sets the tone and like, okay, here we go. Like we're in for it. But yeah. Night of the Living Dead, I love black and white horror, like that kind of a thing. I wish they did more of it now. I feel like black and white just is its own thing. Like it just puts you in a different mood than being able to see like color. And
it certainly you can do a lot of cool things with like shadows, I feel like, with black and white. I mean, there are still modern horror movies in black and white. One that comes to mind is The Eyes of My Mother, which I explained to you what that's about.
Oh, yeah.
You haven't seen that movie, but that movie's in black and white, and I feel like it being in black and white makes it 1,000 times more visceral.
Yeah.
So I definitely get what you're saying with that.
Mm-hmm. And what is it for you?
Mine is pretty generic. It's the 80s, of course. Slashers galore, crazy gore movies, stuff like Reanimator from the 80s, The Thing, like creature movie, like sort of like body horror really came to be in the 80s. So I just feel like the effects, the storylines, everything like that was really like came into like a really great form in the 80s. And I still like horror. I think every decade has great horror movies no matter what, but I feel like the 80s is kind of where like a lot of iconic movies come from. It's stuff that still to this day hasn't really been topped.
Right. Like they can't recreate it almost.
Yeah, well, because they'll try and use fucking CG or something, and then it just looks 100 times worse. Because CG will always age worse than practical effects.
Right.
Like with the prequel to The Thing. Perfect example of a movie that would have been awesome had they just stuck with the practical effects that they had previously made instead of the studio being like, that's stupid, let's make it CG. And then you watch the movie now and the CG looks dated because it's 7 years old at this point.
It didn't age well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, moving on to the next one. All right, so favorite genre within the realm of horror. What is it for you?
Definitely slashers. Those are my favorite. They're just so much fun to watch.
Right.
And I just love seeing how creative the director or the writer can get with the kills in the movie. Mm-hmm. Stuff like, obviously, Friday the 13th has a lot of creative kills. Halloween does, too, to a certain extent. Nightmare on Elm Street probably has some of the most creative kills out of any slasher, but I'm not particularly the biggest fan of Nightmare.
Right.
Stuff like The Prowler, that's a really good movie that has some crazy kills in it, some crazy good gore as well. So yeah, I would say my favorite genre is definitely slashers. Paige, what about you?
Mine would be suspense in that aspect of favorite genre. I love those movies where I go in, like, I remember watching, like, It. Like, I don't know if you would deem, like, it suspense.
I definitely think it's suspenseful.
Okay. Well, yeah, because I went in that whole movie and, like, The Conjuring and those Annabelle movies, and I was just sitting there, and for me, I love the movies where I go in and my whole body's, like, just tensed up, like, the whole time, and I'm just sitting there, like, absolutely terrified, and then it ends, and I'm just like, all right, like, it's over. Like, I don't have to, like, freak out anymore, but...
Yeah.
Those are definitely my favorite because, I don't know. For me, I can watch slashers and, I don't know, you know what's going to happen, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, suspense is definitely, for me, a favorite.
Nice. So our final question of our very first episode of Rehash, the Slash, is favorite design from a horror movie, as in a character design. This could be anything, villain, hero, whatever. Paige, what is your favorite character design from a horror movie? And I think we share this answer.
Okay, well, I'll toss it back to, I feel like no matter what, this whole conversation's like been bouncing back, at least for you, for Friday the 13th. Yeah, part 7, Jason, his costume in that one.
Oh, yes.
I feel like they definitely did him justice in that one. With
Yeah.
the art and just like how he looks. It's so gross, but it's so great.
Yeah. I just love the shot, one of the very first shots where you see him and it's from behind and you really get a good look at like his spine coming through, and you can see throughout the movie like his teeth moving from the part of the hockey mask that got cut by the boat propeller in part 6.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a great design. Like, legitimately shows like every little bit of detail, like damage that's ever been done to Jason. And then you just go back to part 8 and he's just like, I'm a normal guy in a t-shirt and pants.
Right.
You're just like, what the hell happened?
Right. Yeah. If they, I don't know. I wonder how long it took them to like do that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they don't shoot a film like one take in a day. So it's, I don't know. I wonder how long it takes to do that. How long he had to sit, whoever was like playing him at the time, how long they had to sit and do all of that every time.
The makeup process had to be intense.
Yeah. It was great, though. Yeah, definitely favorite design, for sure.
Nice. All right, so that was all of the horror movie icebreaker questions we had. We kind of had a lot of the same answers. We're big Friday the 13th fans, if you couldn't tell, and that's actually going to be the first series of movies that we are covering. Will be Friday the 13th, so... Next week after this episode, we'll be talking about the very first Friday the 13th film, which is going to be very exciting. So, of course, if you enjoyed these horror icebreaker questions, leave a like on this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you love horror movies and horror movie accessories.
Ring that bell. Turn on those notifications.
Look at that. So you can be notified when we are uploading. Of course, I'm Nate. I've been joined with...
Paige.
And we will see you next time on Rehash the Slash.